Today I would like to present you another project on example of a particular symbol which appears on lease agreements known in Greek as Misthosis, which are a typical one of type of contracts commonly attested in late antique papyri. As such, lease agreements are a perfect example of contract structure and notarial practice in late antiquity in Egypt. The lease might be, especially in the 4th and 5th century AD, written as a hypomnema, that is a lease offer, while later on, usually the hierographon format was applied, which means the document drawn in a form of letter. Byzantine period is the era of a hierographon, and such a hierographon was written by tabelio, so known in Greek as symbolaiographos, nomikos, notarios, so a notary who was appointed by the state but acted as a trusted private person. Such a hierographon is characterized by a specific structure which consists of clearly distinguished sections of the document, which you can see here on the slide. So a hierographon started with the dating formula, which since 591 is preceded by a Christian invocation, then followed by prescriptio. I don't know if you can see by prescriptio. So the greeting formula of participating party. Then we have the longest parts of the body with the content of the agreement, hypographe, so the subscription of the issuing party. And then, at least in some geographical context, we have witness subscriptions, and at the end, the completio, so the notary subscription was present. At the on the verso, an endorsement on the summary of the content of the contract was present. This late antique hierographon is characterized additionally by a presence of Christian symbols, which served as visual markers between various sections of the document. Those Christian symbols do not all appear at once in late antique documentary papyri, but their number increase over time. The final way in which those Christian symbols were applied to distinguish various sections of the document can be seen on the documents on the papyri from the 7th century, like the one here, where almost every section of the document was preceded and ended by a Christian symbols. And sometimes we even find Christian symbols in the middle of sections, like in prescriptio, so before the second part name, or in hypographe, before the name of hypographeus, so a proxy writing on behalf of an illiterate part. Those Christian symbols, the catalog of which is quite limited, so basically we find cross, staurogram, or hemiagamma group, are the main subject of research within the ERC Note project, so not a written word, but graphic symbols. The project Note aims to investigate the presence of graphic symbols in documentary records as a historical phenomenon from late antiquity to early medieval Europe. The main and final result of the project will be the Note system, a public repository of graphic symbols collected from original documentary sources. The database will be launched at the end of the project, so in the middle of the next year. Our IT specialists are currently working on the public version of the database, but unfortunately it's not yet available even to us. We should have a possibility finally to work on it and to test it only in the mid of January. Because of that, I'm not able at the moment to show it to you. However, I will briefly present the main elements of Note system based on our back office version. So the structure of database consists of 3 types of data sheets corresponding to as many sections. So we have documents, graphic symbols, and persons sheets. The document sheets provides obviously data about the papyri. So obviously they see GLAB, title, date, archive to which they belong, language, presence of symbols, but we find also the typology and what is very important information about hands involved in the document. So we indicate the lines in which each hand intervene, the role played by each hand, so whether it's a writer of the body or the subscriber or notary or witness. And we also provide a synthetic description of the handwriting of each writer. In the graphic symbols sheet, we which is present, where each symbol is assigned to a particular hand. We describe symbols in their form and locate them precisely within the document, and we provide also the digital reproduction of the symbol whenever it's obviously available online. The sheets of hands and graphic symbols represent also the connection with the third section of the system, the one dedicated to persons, in which only the individuals who intervene graphically in the drafting of the documents are recorded. And by use of the database, it is possible to visualize all documents drawn by the same person, as well as to check the symbols used by them. Thanks to the search function offered by the Note system, which can be combined in both varied ways, it will therefore be possible to conduct a series of specific or general searches in diachronic or synchronic perspective. In particular, the graphic symbols section can constitute an important starting point to verifying constants and identifying exceptions in the use of symbols to observe their evolution, but also for identifying the diversification of the use for geographical context or document type. Those Christian symbols, which I just mentioned, dominate in Note database due to their omnipresence in the late antique documentary papyri. But it does not mean that we do not have in database other kinds of signs of symbols. There are some punctuation marks or abbreviation marks, and I would like to show you the potential of the Note database on example of one such less confirmed symbols. And more precisely to the particular form of abbreviation of the word Misthosis, so lease, which can be found at the beginning of endorsement, so the summary of the contract present on the verso of the document. Such a Misthosis abbreviation in certain geographical contexts has the form of a monogram. So that is a motif made by combination of 2 or more letters to form one symbol. In case of Misthosis, it's more precisely combination of me crossed by an iota. Such a monograph form of abbreviation in late antique papyri is primarily confirmed in Hermopolis Magna from the 4th century onwards. also in the 6th century Aphrodito, and to a limited extent also in Oxyrhynchos, only in 5th century. This kind of abbreviation of Misthosis is, however, absent in other regions where the large number of leases was found. So, for example, we never find such an abbreviation in Fayum or Sinoetes, where always Misthosis abbreviation was written as Mist. Only in Heracleopolis Magna, where we find the same way of abbreviating this word. This suggests the regional nature of the Misthosis abbreviation as a monogram, which occurrence is limited to the southern part of the Middle Egypt, being absent from regions located further north. However, I would like to underline that while in the documents from Hermopolis, this monogram form which evolves is basically the only way in which the Misthosis was abbreviated. The same is not true for Aphrodito and especially for Oxyrhynchos. So in Oxyrhynchos, we have only 3 documents which with such monogram abbreviation, all dated to the 5th century, so the last attested document is from 462. And this form coexists with other ways to abbreviate Misthosis, so longer ways like Mist here or Misthos here. And sometimes the word was written in its entirety. What I would like to underline is the fact that in Oxyrhynchos from 460, the endorsement, Misthosis endorsement was preceded by some Christian symbol, with whether it be Christogram, Staurogram, or a cross. In Aphrodite, there are more examples of this monogram form of abbreviation, dated from 506 to 541, and sometimes they can be even preceded by a staurogram, as you can see here. This monogram form coexists, however, with a compendium form of the Misthosis. A compendium is a symbol produced by placing a letter within or on top of other letter. In case of Misthosis, is more precisely staurogram, so ligature of letter tau and rho that having a function of monogram of the Christ, and we have 4 such compendium form of Misthosis from Aphrodito, dated for years 520s, 430s. For uncertain reason, such a compendium or monogram form of Misthosis seems to be abandoned in Aphrodito in the second half of the 6th century, when on the verso of leases we find always a Misthosis word written in entirety and preceded by a Christian symbol. The evolution of this monogram form is in some way analogous to this present in Aphrodito, can be observed also in Hermopolites. From this norm, we particularly rich in lease agreements, we have as much as 58 documents in which Misthosis was written in the form of monogram or compendium, and the form of which clearly evolves. So in the monogram form of Misthosis is confirmed from the 4th century till 480s. In the 4th century, sometimes this monogram has a form of dimensions similar to the letter that follows, which, however, can be easily distinguished because of this diagonal stroke descending below the line and a very long iota. However, more common way to write this abbreviation was use of the large majuscule Alexandrian M. That means this very large curve crossed by iota. It means that we are dealing here with distinctive script, which allowed the documentary type of the contract to be identified at glance. In the form of this monogram evolves in Hermopolites, and in 480s we start to find, instead of monogram, compendium, like in Aphrodito, where within the large staurogram or cross might be placed. We can notice also evolution of the form of M, which in this period started to be more cursively, resulting in the presence of these loops at the upper part of M. It seems that in this period, this compendium form of Misthosis has a double scope. So from the one side, it is an abbreviation of Misthosis, but from the other point of view, we are dealing here with a way in which the Christian symbol is present at the beginning of the endorsement. In other contexts like Oxyrhynchos, or just mentioned by me before, or Aphrodite, or Asinoites, or Heraclopolites, from about 460s, 480s, we find at the beginning of the endorsements Christian symbols, so cross or staurogram. In case of Hermopolites and Aphrodite, it seems that they were incorporated within the Misthosis abbreviation. This compendium form in Hermopolites evolves. As you can see, for the long time it was written as this large majuscule M, written from the bottom up, but from 570s, 580s, this form changed, and M is written from up to bottom with this edge, and we do not find from this date onwards any other case of Alexandrian M. Another stage of evolution is the presence of the cross before the compendium, the Misthosis compendium, and we find this cross from 592 onwards in Hermopolites document, and that it can be most probably seen as an adaptation to the general convention typical from the end of the 6th century, beginning of 7th century, of opening and closing each section of the document with a cross, which lead scribes in Hermopolites to add an additional Christian symbol. And finally, we arrive to the final stage, at least the final, which is confirmed in the papyri from Hermopolites, were dated most probably to the middle of the 7th century. So the one example precisely dated is dated to 649, where within is not we do not find anymore a Christian symbol, but but theta. So the Christian symbol within the me was abandoned, and we have of this. Yeah, we have only two examples. One sure, so this one, and well, another one very probable. This one when we have very see traces of theta here. The fact that Misthosis abbreviation were written in a particular form of monogram or compendium was often omitted in apparatus criticus or commentary on the papyri in which they occur. Often this abbreviation was not read correctly, which may be partially due to the poor conditions of endorsement. However, I believe that a close reading of such a, for sure, secondary element of the papyri might help in reading correctly some endorsements, especially taking in consideration also the evolution of their form. And here you can see some examples. So in this document, the editor read Misthosis, mist to kappa something, para. But as you can see here clearly on the slide, we are dealing here with a cross, so Misthosis, and here we have the word genome in abbreviation, which was a typical formula for endorsements in the second half of the 6th century. In this document, the editor read Sperchios, even quite difficult to pronounce, while you can see here clearly Misthosis abbreviation again with a symbol. So in reality, we are dealing here with the word Misthosis hyperhio. At the same time, I would like to underline that awareness of form of even a one word and its evolution can also be useful to narrow down the dating of the papyri, or to indicate places where the document was written. So if we look at this papyrus, which was on the polygraphical ground, is dated to the 5th century. We can notice the cross placed within the me, which suggests date after 480, and the same can be said for this document. Here, which was dated for the 5th or 6th century. So based on the form of Misthosis, it seems that the more plausible date, it would be somewhere between 480s and 570s. And the last example of this document, where two possible dates are suggested, so 444 or 599. So again, taking consideration a form of me, which is not attested after 570s, the first date seems more plausible. And by analyzing the monogram and the compendium form of Misthosis, I wanted to show what a useful tool the notice system could be in the future, obviously, when it would be launched, hoping that it would encourage other research on symbols on the documentary papyrology. Thank you for your attention.